we have two PCBs joined by some header pins. Alright, today we're looking at smart lights, and we've got an array of them here. We've got the TP-Link Kasa. I do have a TP-Link Tapo, but it's in use at the moment. We have an Ikea TRÅDFRI LED. I just wanted to see what's in these. That was on clearance for 20 bucks. I love the Kasa stuff, so I got it anyway. This was, I don't know, probably stupid price, not worth it. These are great. These are actually really good, bright ones that you can flash. They're Tuya based, but you can flash them with ESP-Home, and they're only $2. So I bought as many as Bunnings had from there. Connect, SmartHome, pile of crap, but these were $10 clearance. I need to see what was in them. Brilliant, they're also Tuya based, but Brilliant actually make some good quality lights. They've got some wide angle lights and things like that. So I got those when I saw them. I think they're about $10 each. Now I've also got one of the Sonoff, what's this one? It is the B02-BL-A60, B02-BL-A60. Got one of those recently just to try it out, see what's in them. We have, I don't have the container for it anymore, but this is a Cygnett smart light. These are the worst of the worst, Jesus Christ. Your standard Arlec stuff, and I've got two variants of that. We've then got the Mirabella Genio, already flashed with TAS motor. Again, they are Tuya based. When you get them, depends on whether or not you can flash them. So sometimes it's a newer TAS motor, sometimes it's the older TAS motor. You want them like the 2020 or earlier, like early 2020 or early ones. Whiz, love them as they are. I've never cracked one open before. I'm going to do it just for this video. Don't need to flash them, use them like they are. I probably can flash them though. Again, Connect SmartHome, pretty much the same as this, but in a different form factor. And then Laser SmartHome. Now, I'm pretty certain, if we go through it, this is bound to be TP-Link, that's bound to be Tuya, Sonoff's own thing. I don't even know these are that bad. I'm pretty certain they're Tuya as well. Tuya. Wiz's own thing. I'm not sure what it's based on, but we'll find out. And Tuya dominates. Now, what makes it worthwhile is when these are on special for $2, or these are actually really good globes. I use these for other video recording, not here. So I'd buy more of those, I'd buy more of those, and I'd buy more of those. These, I buy them when they're on special for $2 as well, because they're basically nearly free ESP or expressive chips, ESP32s or 8266s or all sorts of variations. So let's crack each one open and have a quick look. First ones I've already cracked open, this Cygnett one. If we have a look inside, you can see it's actually got a pretty good design there. The camera doesn't really show you how red or orangish looking some of these LEDs are. But if we pop this out, grab my tweezers. You can see here, there is come on live focus, there is an expressive based board there. I know that because I've flashed it already. On the back, we've got a whole pile of voltage regulators and a few things there, along with the bridge rectifier and all your standard switch mode components. There is also, oddly, a little jumper pin, and I've not traced that to see what it does. And then you've got 8 pins that go through to the board. The board has a few possible variations, and I'm not sure what these are. I'm guessing they're going to be the RGB LEDs. You can see the 3 little chips on them. But pretty stock standard sort of deal, aluminium on the back. I don't know what model this is. I'll probably Google it and put it down in the comments for you. But that's all that we're going to get out of this. This is going in the bin. Those are garbage lights. I have no intention of actually using them again. Next up, we have the Arlec. So let's get all the Arlecs together, crack them open. These big old, what are they, par 38s, I've actually got some running that I've cracked open before. This one I'm cracking open for the video because it's been dropped, as you can see, so it's a bit munted. That's Australian slang for fucked up. Now, if we crack one of these open, it can actually take some effort because they're glued. There we go. Alright, so they've got a deflector or diffusion and reflecting sort of surface in there, along with this lid. They've got a big old array of LEDs in there in a pretty nice configuration. And there is a what's that one there? Come on, focus. TYW E2L. Alright, the TYW E2L is a Tuya module, like I said. It is based on the Espressif 8285. The pins are really hard to get to, so you can't get to them easily. But what I actually did on one of my others as well, I've got the antenna here, is I made my little own RF antenna. So this thing didn't actually reach far enough. So I cut the onboard antenna that you can see just along that surface there. I cut that off just by scratching the PCB and soldered this right at the side of the equation. Kind of like that, I think it was, or it might have been on the other side. And it worked really well. I actually managed to connect to this from further away, and I think part of the issue was this metallic housing. So there can be Wi-Fi issues, but you can remedy it if you're happy to do so. So, crack this open. Yeah, but basically, low power, 32-bit CPU. It supports, it's a 3.3 voltage as usual, and it's got built-in Wi-Fi. I believe it's also got built-in Bluetooth. Let's have a look. No, it doesn't have built-in Bluetooth. Apparently, I thought this did. Integrated antenna, but it's your standard Espressif chip, just with Tuya's crap on top of it. So, that's the metal housing. That's going to be an aluminium kind of heat diffuser. And it works well, but as I said, it does block some Wi-Fi. That's a bit of a bad idea. They should have put the Wi-Fi further down in the plastic, I think. That would have been a much better design idea. Here we have a decent little LED panel array. You see there is the 3K and the 6K connection, so they're the different temperature LEDs. And then you got, it's grounded by that actually. It's switched on the ground, and then you got the positive input there. Pretty straightforward. Shut these things in spares pile, because I'm not going to put this back together. Now, let's crack the base of this open. Alright, once we've disconnected that, throw the scraps in the bin. And you should, for the most part, be able to pretty much just knock this entire thing out. It is glued in, but sharp enough tap, and we'll most of the way. Alright, and there we go. Again, we've got our chip on the top there. That is very easy to desolder. You can also see the cool and the warm pads that they've got marked as 1, 2, 3. I forget what that was for. But really straightforward, really easy to get to. We've got a lot of fun components on here as well. A couple of good diodes. Voltage regulator, so that's going to be a 240 volt down to maybe 5 volt or 3 volt voltage regulator. Bridge rectifier. Standard arrangement, so you're going to have a fusible resistor there, safety capacitor, inductor, smoothing capacitors, that sort of thing. I would say it's a handy power supply to have. You can probably cut it off there, and you know you've got, oh yeah, some good little transistors here that they used to switch each as well. So you could cut it off across the top and know that you've got a decent power supply here, which will put out a fair bit of current. These lights say 15 watt, 130 milliamp. So that's actually really good for this light, for this sort of light. It doesn't consume much, but lots of good components that I'm going to reuse, especially for $2. Getting an ESP-8285 for $2 is worth it. I don't think you could get them cheaper anywhere else. So let's chuck the chassis and all the broken stuff out from there, and have a look if the others have the same in them. So first up is this little one. And you can usually just crack the top straight off. There we go. Now this, I'm not even going to fully take it apart. You can see they've got the antenna sticking out there. That's a pretty good design. And I'll show you why I'm not going to take it apart. Because I already have one and I forgot where it came from. So I'm glad I know now. You see it's an interesting through-hole design with the PCB that I quite like. So if we pop that out, they've got pretty thick solder track on there, which is good. And then they've got these odd standoffs here, and then the back is an aluminium plate, as you'd expect. Now in this power supply, again, almost the same. This one actually looks really dirty and badly made for some reason. That is disgusting. But we've got the bridge rectifier, 2 different voltage controllers, and then we've got 2 different transformer coils here. But judging from the pins on them when I was having a look the other day, pretty certain one's just being used as an inductor. So that one only has 2 pins attached on one side. So I think that's used as an inductor. That is actually used for the transformer though. You can see there, the chip is wedged right in the middle. I've already desoldered this one from the bottom. So if we pop it out, again, you can get these on special for $2 sometimes. This is a lovely little, very, very little, in fact, let's get that up there. This is a TYLC5. So we've got all the pins on the back there that we need. Reset, TX, RX, that's your positive power, ground, and IO, one of them. IO14 that looks like. Then on the front you got IO4 and IO12. That it is a great little chip. You can see there it is an ESP-8285 as well, just in a much smaller form factor. So those are handy. Same as this power supply. They're doing the same thing. Safety capacitors, diodes. There's a little bit of optical separation, which we've seen just there, which is good. Not all of them have that. Sorry, physical separation. I'd say they could definitely do better, and it's just a dirty board, but that's what's in that one. We then move on to very similar, different form, also cheap. Oh, there we go. The hell, did I just snapped that straight off without even realizing it. So that is actually still attached in there. And we can see it's exactly the same. So I won't bother with that one. It's just in a different bulb shape. Let's just see if the LEDs are the same. Can't believe that stayed attached. Oh yeah, that glue's got to go. Yep. That is identical. Alright. Throw out the scrap bits of this. Keep the fun bits that we want. More power supplies. More ESP32s. Or ESP8285s. 8266s, whatever variation they use. Get these boxes in the bin. Now, moving onto Sonoff. I'm not going to kill this one because I want to use it. I just want to see what's inside it. Oh, that is really light. This is a 9 watt. It doesn't say how many milliamps it draws, but you can probably look it up on the Sonoff website. I bought it from Etihad or Itihad, which is where I got my other Sonoff stuff, like the NS panel from. And, oh, it cracks pretty easily. I'm going to guess that they're going to use their own system. I'm destroying this a little bit, but what do you know? It is very, very similar. They're using the same through-hole configuration with 6 pins as another lamp somewhere here. Oh yeah, is it? No? Alright, that's the one I just put back together. As another light that I've shown. So let's quickly jump to that. This is the Connect SmartHome light. Pretty certain this is the one I've reassembled. Nope, not the one I'm looking for. Disconnect SmartHome light. Yeah, there we go. So, Connect SmartHome, and this is my Sonoff. Very similar sort of arrangement, but very different PCB. So we'll get back to that one. What do we got in there? Looks pretty standard. Now they've side mounted the MCU. Let's bust this top bit off and have a look. I'll glue this all back together another time, and once I've got it open you'll see what I mean about it being side mounted. Alright, managed to get it out. Now look at that. Isn't that different? And I think it's quite smart. It is a very similar design, very basic. They've really decided to keep it minimal, and I quite like that. We can see, I want to get the camera to focus on, there we go. Pretty good idea of the circuit there, and it's much like what you'd expect. But this has a whole pile of GPIOs exposed. I'd have to look up what model it is, and I'll paste it below, but that's pretty neat. That's well done. So good on Sonoff for doing something different. And from what I understand, they're pretty good quality lights as well, which is why I bought them. We'll try them out maybe, or actually measure their current, or just smash the thing to pieces in another video. For now, pop it back together, put its dome back on, and back in the box. Now, since I already cracked them open, Connect SmartHome. First of all, we've got these little GU10s. I quite like these. I've flashed them. I should have got one. You can see they do have the antenna coming through on top, which is a good idea. And they're a solid little unit. I've got a few of them at home. Now, the only downside is with these, in fact, with all of these, I believe, any that have this sort of design, you can see it's a scalable design that they've come up with, they all seem to overheat. I've got a pile of them at home that I can only run at 50% because they constantly overheat and turn themselves off. It's probably to do with the casing or the lack of space, but we'll get into it and have a bit more of a look. Okay, so this is immediately different. They have all of the logic on the PCB. That's an ESP-8266EX, soldered straight on the PCB. So there we go, it gives you a good idea of what they've done there. But they do have a small power supply in the bottom of it here. Let's unwrap this and see what's going on. This doesn't look like Captain tape, doesn't even look like the Cot Pan rip-off tape that you can get. It's just probably insulating, but oh yeah. That is a stock standard and well isolated little design. I quite like this. I will definitely use this for other things. You can see it's even got some markings. It will take 85 to 265 volts in, and it says 94 volt -0. So it's going to be rectifying, and probably just change a resistor or two to change the output. But that is an interestingly different design. You can see though how that's probably going to lead to some overheating. This PCB is essentially attached directly to the back of the lighting PCB, and there's some solder points. So there's going to be a few people that don't like that, and I don't blame you. This one I am not going to reuse as a GU10. I'm going to cut the cables and use this for parts, because that 8266 will be very handy in some other projects. I'll probably just desolder the LEDs and use them for anything, and I'll definitely use that little power supply there. Now, this one, you can see, uses a similar design to some others, and it's exactly what the others look like. You're starting to see some familiarity with how these are all put together, and understandably. Now, this one, I've clearly already taken apart before, and it also has a slightly different design. So, that's the top there. If we slide that off, take off a bit of this plastic. Alright, I'll leave that there. It's interesting that coil's open. They're running a... whatever that little SOC is. There's the label. So this one uses Beken. You'd have to flash it with OpenBeken. They've moved away from the ESP-32 on this. So it looks a lot like this one, the TYLC5. It's very much the same form factor and pins, but with a Beken chip on it. So that'll be interesting and fun to play with. They've also got an inductor on the power supply for this board, which is really good for smoothing and getting rid of some noise and just being power efficient. And they've mounted it with a through-hole design. It also states that this is a 3.3 volt board, and you've got otherwise the same stuff. So this is probably one of my favourite designs so far. It's more modern, you know that because it's got the Beken chip that they've moved to, away from Espressif, and that will be a very handy board all round. I might even keep it as is and tap straight into these as the GPIOs. Now these also cost 15 bucks, sorry, 15 bucks on special from Harvey Norman. That was a clearance for $10. I normally wouldn't pay that. I even marked these with an X because it couldn't be flashed. Now we know why, or Tuya Convert didn't pick it up. I will still flash them, but I'm just wanted to see what was in them mostly. Next we have Laser SmartHome. This one was from Australia Post. So far we've got Arlec from Bunnings, Connect SmartHome from Harvey Norman, and Laser SmartHome from Australia Post. The Cygnett I bought online, I believe, and it was quite cheap, but Cygnett is the worst. Laser SmartHome is also super cheap. I don't expect this to be of any use. I'm not even going to try turning it on to see what it's like. There we go. Very much the same as the other. There is some differences though. It's 4 pins, and they're quite heavy looking pins. There's adjustable cool white and warm white. What's that little chip on top? It's going to be some sort of a dressing thing. Let's peel that out and have a look. Oh, that was very tight. Ah, because it was glued on the bottom too. So that is slightly different, but we got that out. Now we have this old chestnut. Where's something sharp? Stanley knife will do. So with these, where you've got a pin in the bottom, generally you'll find that just pops out, and there's that pin. There is another one to the side as well, which is going to be pinched under there. I'll just use the old screw until it snaps trick. So this is actually very different to the others. We've got some exposed pins there that we can probably use for flashing it. Come on, camera. Use for flashing it. I like there's thicker connectors, so it's probably going to be higher current draw. We have a big beefy capacitor there. Then on the back, oh, isn't that great? They stuck the plastic over the goddamn chip. That is a WB2L. So this is OpenBeken as well, BK7231T. Like the other, it's got an RF shield around the housing. It's got a lot more GPIOs than that other Beken, but these are pretty powerful little MCUs. I talked about them. Why is that just pissing me off? Talked about them recently in another video. If you search my channel for Beken, you'll see stock standard bridge rectifier, voltage regulator, transistors, and your normal voltage set. Doesn't have anything interesting. It does specify cool and warm white on there. So I'll use this for parts, another Beken one for the box, and I'll probably grab a few components off it. But not worth $10, I don't think. Maybe. I'd rather pay $2 for those other ones. Next up, brilliant. I know these are Tuya based. I'm pretty certain to flash. Yeah, I've already flashed it with Tasmodal light, so we know they're the slightly older generation. And from memory, they also had some indication of the manufacturing date on some of them. So if you can ever check, yeah, copyright 2019. So there's a good chance when you see something like that, that it's flashable. 2020 is when it all went downhill. Oh, it's plastic. Oh, this is actually quite a soft one, as you can see. It folds in pretty easily. It's glued really well. Jeez, was it ever. Now we see another variation with some interesting design choices. We have 4 thick pins like we had just before with the other Tuya chip that was featuring Beken. We have an extended antenna instead of it being slotted through. I quite like that. We've got the same little chip on top, which I'm just going to actually Google it this time. It says it's a J5C9. I'm going to Google one of the other ones. Yeah, so that's what I thought. This is they're all going to be much the same, but this one's a KP18055 ESP-A. So it's a 2-channel PWM controlled dimmable LED controller, so that does the dimming function. I'd say that's what all of them are going to be doing on these. Now let's see what's under the guts of this one. Oh god, that is in there. This is also going to be glued from the bottom, you bastards. That got her out. A bit of a thicker aluminium plate on this one than the other one, it looks like. See it there. Otherwise, nothing interesting to write about that. But let's have a look at what's inside. What power supply have we got? Are there any useful components to us? But they're not using a resistor. Oh, the resistor's inline. Then got a fusible resistor between them like that. And this model is a, come on camera, TYLC6E. So another low power embedded module developed by Tuya. The componentry is otherwise much the same. It looks like they've gone for a cheaper PCB. This is based on the ESP-8285, so these usually cost a bit. I would pay maybe $5 for it as a light, but I do like they've got that externally mounted antenna there, so they've done something slightly different, which is cool. These header pins are probably going to be super handy to harvest, as are the, what model is that? MB10F, it looks like, as are those bridge rectifiers. Interesting to note that the ground, as you can see clearly here, is tied to live. That goes through to the capacitor, which drops to the, what is that, high voltage through to that resistor, sorry, goes all the way across to there. So tied through the bridge rectifier, but yeah, ground on the low voltage side is tied to mains. Be very careful with that. Brilliant smart LED, I don't recall where I got. It was probably Bunnings, but I have bought them online before and from my local electrician. Now, Mirabella Genio, you get from Woolworths. I think Coles probably have them as well. I expect we're going to start to see some repeating patterns here because, we've explored most of the variations of what they can do with these. Let's see if I can pop this one open. Irreparably, a lot of glue in there, and yeah. We've seen this configuration already. It only has one type of LED in it. We've got much the same, different model, much the same controller on top. So, let's see if we can just squeeze this PCB out without really caring if we damage it or not. I can't get into that spot. This does have a different case though. It's a bit of a harder case, and it looks like there is a lot more aluminium to dissipate the heat. It's got the same 4 pins for the through hole though. Jesus. I'm really mashing this thing up to get it out. Oh. It'll probably still work. That was a bit of damage there. I'm going to have to move this camera so I'm not going up to it all the time. And then... this one is slotted in. As you can see, there is a lot more aluminium in there, but there's also little slots that this controller goes into. We have much the same arrangement on the bottom, and we've got another TYL-C5. I'm pretty certain we already had one of those, TYL-C5. No, we didn't. This one, again, Tuya, as you can expect from the TY, Chinese company. This one is based on ESP-285 as well, so if you can get these on special for $2, I would say go for it. Otherwise, they're nothing to write home about, and there's not many GPIOs, so I'd probably pay $2 for this, but nothing more. The ones that are very GPIO limited just aren't worth it. Now, TP-Link Kasa. Is this honorary, or do I actually have a light in it? No, that box is empty because I'm using this light. I don't know what's in them. Maybe in a future video I'll have to open it. Next up, Wiz. I love these, and I feel bad damaging one. They've got pretty cool packaging though. They kind of come in that little slot. I'm going to try to keep this as usable, but they're a very soft plastic. But I want to see what powers them. Oh, this is already very different, isn't it? The inside of that smells really sweet. That is strange. Now, it is a very familiar looking top, and you can see this is quite configurable with different spots for LEDs that aren't in use, and what's most likely going to be some resistors there. Let's see if we can get this out safely and see what controller that is. I've never had an issue with any Wiz products. Granted, they do only really make their lights. It'd be awesome if they made a smart plug. I'm sure they'd do very well at that, but alas, they do not. Also, I ordered a new camera today, so I can get rid of this crappy Oppo. Now, these Wiz you can pick up in Bunnings or order online. I believe Wiz is part of another company. You see as well, out the box it supports so many different things, which is great. One of the best things about this is you don't need to create an account, and it works locally. You don't have to use... You can create an account, but... Oh yeah, through eVault. But you don't have to. And it ties straight into anything. You just enable third-party access, and Home Assistant sees it straight away. You can tie it into any of these different services you want. It's actually really developer-friendly, which is great. Not to mention, yeah, I've been running mine for a few years now. They haven't died. I've had no issues with overheating. go. Just started to pop him out. Alright, we have a whole espressive SoC in there. That is not just the modules, the whole, oh, it is just a module, sorry, but they've made their own module, and it's a ESP-Home 02D. So that's actually got a fair bit going for it. That's a very capable chip. So having a quick look at this, it's Wi-Fi, GPIO, PWM, supports WPA2, supports a whole pile of different instruction sets, doesn't have Bluetooth, but is a very well made, very capable chip with how much flash? So ESP-8266ES based with up to 16 meg SPI flash, which is usually external. I can't quite see in there if there is any flash. There's none of the normal sort of flash modules that I'd expect to see. But these also do have enough on board for the program, like usually a meg or something. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this, but as I said, I like Wiz and they work, so I'm not going to strip it and destroy it. I'm going to put it back together and close it up. Probably have to use some thermal glue on this again so that it doesn't overheat, but those I would thoroughly recommend buying. Lastly, we have the Ikea light. Now, I'm actually going to, should have zoomed in a little bit more earlier. This one I would not recommend. It's stupidly expensive and it probably only works with their app. In fact, I'm very certain it only works with their app. And their stuff seems very locked down. It's not very developer friendly. Starts in under a second, 25,000 times on and off. Good CRI if that's true. Length 2700 Kelvin. So this one is, yeah, you need Ikea Home Smart. I don't think you need a hub. Oh, it's 25,000 hours, not cycles. It is RGB though, and I would be very curious what system they use. It's almost certainly Tuya. So you can see Wiz use their own system. Almost everything else uses Tuya, and the Tuya ones can be either ESP based or OpenBeken based. I've also seen some that are Realtek based before, not in the lights yet though. So casing's much the same. It is a smoother plastic. It says it uses 8.9 watts, 806 lumen, which is pretty good, 2700 Kelvin. Let's break her open. Oh, that is glued tight. I can nearly get it, but jam the spudger in there, get it the rest of the way. Oh, wow, that... Alright, getting the screwdriver in there because that one glued a lot. This is a very different design to everything else. So these three LEDs here also look very different to me. Can't really see it on the camera so much. All these are quite orange, they're quite yellow, and then you can see there's some RGB LEDs, you've got your PWM controller there, and it's screwed closed, and there's pins to make sure it's facing the right way. There's no antenna sticking up, so I'm going to guess that that's underneath. Having it screwed down, I actually quite like, if I get a better screwdriver, because it means you're not relying on thermal glue. It also means people like you and I can take it apart and put it back together, well, a lot more easily. It says it's compatible with Zigbee, which is interesting and good. Everything's slowly becoming Matter compatible, of course. It has a good energy rating, which I think's a good differentiator from some of the others. Just to point out though that Wiz also gets an A+. I don't know if all of them have it. Oh yeah, and Kasa gets an A+. Did any of the others specify? So, Laser SmartHome doesn't specify. Brilliant. Doesn't specify. Connect SmartHome. Doesn't specify. Arlec. Doesn't specify. So, the three I actually like so far all specify. They're all proud of their quality, which is how they fucking should be. Alright, that's those two screws out. I'm going to keep aside because I'll probably use this again. Now let's see how easily, got a bit of a storm outside, how easily this lifts up. Alright, it is still glued, but not, you know, not spastically so. Sorry, you're probably not supposed to say that word. It is still glued, just not ridiculously so. Oh wow, that is very different. I really need to see more, which I think means I'm going to destroy this. Nope, so be it. Oh, this pin is really in there too. There we go. I don't even know how to begin getting this out. This is just different. Hold, please. Alright, I think that's just about got it. So let's grab it and find out. But what I did is I broke the bottom completely off. Basically, yeah, that did got it. That one was under the pin, and then that one was folded under the screw cap. Now we have got a pile of safety capacitors there. What I think is a diode across the front. We have some optical isolation. We have 2 PCBs joined by some header pins. So this first PCB is just the wireless module, and this is using something I've never seen before. Look at that bad boy if we get the label to a readable position. This really is quite different. It looks like it's got its own voltage management to a degree built on board. Those are the GPIOs that go back to the controller. I'm going to look up what this is though. I'm really going to have to hunt for this and show you later, but we can see that looks like the Espressif logo, I think. So I'm going to put my money on that, but that's definitely interesting. So there's the front of it, the back of it with a protective coating there. Oh. There we go, there's some of the pads that we want. We're going to flash it. So this could work well just as it is, which is quite handy. You don't have to worry about the voltage stuff. We'll just have to work out how much voltage is coming into it from these header pins, which is going to be pretty easy to suss out. Now, we then have the power supply. And this has a lot going on. This has a lot more than the other power supplies. There's a lot going on here. So, bridge rectifier, and then this controller in the middle of some degree, which BKE DSA, whatever the hell that is, BKE DSA. No, that's nothing that I know of. If you have an idea, let me know. Could be an 8KE DSA, I'll try that in Google. Nope. And then yeah, a fairly full-on power supply on top, couple of rectifiers, couple of capacitors, 2 resistors. Two what I'm guessing are going to be fairly hefty resistors. Sorry, so guessing fusible resistors. Interesting, Ikea. You've done something completely different to everyone else. Good on you. This isn't going to go back together in any usable sort of way, but we can clip that back together and slot that back on there. And we have somewhat of a usable product. I might tinker around with that in the future. This is a new channel though. I love any input from you folks on what I should be testing. Don't know what that bang was outside just then. So let me know your thoughts on this. It'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. If you want to know the best deals for a certain type of chip, let me know and I'll have a look at what I've pulled apart. If you know of another light that might be worth pulling apart that's different to these, I'm also all ears. These things do interest me quite a bit. So until next time, enjoy, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you then. Oh, Ikea, you failed at one thing. So it slots in like that. I'm putting it back together. That means the Wi-Fi is inside this metal housing though. That is a shite move. I've seen that fail in 2 of the other designs. That will really impede the Wi-Fi connectivity. It is only, in fact it's fairly thick aluminium. It's only a little bit of metal, but it can make a world of difference. Oh, and the Sonoff has a rating too, but it's an F. Jesus Christ. And this eWeLink app, as we've seen in the NS panel video, is terrible. So Sonoff, you just fell down near the bottom of the pile. Very close to the bottom of the pile. Do better. Be better.